Hello, Grammar 2 students. Well, this week we are going to talk about the prepositional phrase. Of course, this is a structure you're familiar with, but there are several points that we should discuss. Okay, let's move then to the preposition. Prepositions may be either simple or complex, made up of one word or more. Simple examples of simple prepositions are in, on, under, through, after, regarding, and complex prepositions that may be made up of two or more words, like due to, out of, except for, in spite of, by means of, in return for, okay? Now, the problem with prepositions, and if you look at, for example, at this preposition regarding, is that sometimes they may seem to be some other part of speech, okay? So let's compare prepositions with some other parts of speech. We may compare them to verbs, as the example before. If we look at including, and you have a sentence which reads, I love all sports, including, hunting, okay? In that case, including is clearly a preposition. But if you write a report, including all the details of your project, there, including is clearly a verb. We have already discussed what happens when, for example, before, the word before, may introduce an adverbial clause, and in that case it is a subordinating conjunction. So we should be careful that when we say that you should leave before he arrives, before is a subordinating conjunction. But if I say that you should leave before midnight, okay, before is a preposition. And the same happens sometimes with adverbs or adverbial particles. You could say that that she walked past the church, and that is a preposition, or that she walked past, and in that case it will be an adverb. So we have to be really careful. And I haven't included here, the possibility of having prepositions which are part of a prepositional verb, such as look for. When you're looking for something, remember that preposition belongs with the verb to the prepositional verb. Okay, let's move now to the internal structure of the prepositional phrase. You know well that a prepositional phrase is made up of a preposition plus an object to the preposition. But this here, this that you see here between brackets, is something we don't often talk about, and it is a possibility of having a modifier. Then we will focus on that. As regards the object to the preposition, the most common is, no doubt, the noun phrase, but there are many other structures that may appear as object to the preposition. An adjectival phrase, an adverbial phrase, not so common, but still possible, like, okay, when you say for good or since then. There is a possibility of having another prepositional phrase as the object to the preposition. I don't know, say they heard the noise was coming from inside the house, okay? And they are very clearly, you have from, and inside the house is the object to that from. There is a possibility of having a noun clause of the WH type. We should talk about what we're going to do about this problem. A to infinitive clause introduced by a WH subordinating conjunction. Okay, only introduced by a WH subordinating conjunction. We should talk about where to go on holidays. And a gerundial clause, quite common object to the preposition, okay? We should talk about moving abroad. All right. Now, let's move now to this optional modifier we had in the structure. Look at these examples. It was hitting me right between the eyes, okay? Right between the eyes. We see that these right, and in some cases, the modifier seems to be more, let's say, strictly related to the preposition, and in some other cases, it seems to be more the modifier of the whole prepositional phrase, okay? She was well into her 30s. The place was badly in need of repairs. The old woman was almost in tears. Okay, you see that in all cases, okay, these are optional elements within the prepositional phrase. So let's not be afraid of finding a modifier within the prepositional phrase. As regards syntactic functions, we know that prepositional phrases may realize adverbial function as adverbial adjuncts, adverbial disjuncts, or adverbial conjuncts, okay? Now, they may also act as post modifiers within a noun phrase, as an instance of embedding, as the complementation of the verb, or as a post modifier within an adjectival phrase. I'm sure you can think of examples yourselves. All right, some other syntactic functions here. The post modifier within an adverbial phrase. We said that they may also be the object to a preposition, a subjective complement, or an objective complement. So look at the amounts, okay? The number, rather, of functions that prepositional phrases may perform. Of course, the most common are adverbial adjuncts, disjuncts, or conjuncts, particularly adjuncts, and the post modifier within a noun phrase. Okay, I would say as the most common. Now, remember, when we talk about prepositions, we have to be very careful because there is a possibility of having a prepositional phrase inside another prepositional phrase. And when we have two prepositional phrases running, we have to decide whether one is inside the other or not. That is something we usually do in grammar 1. Okay. Let's move now to the use of prepositions. This is interesting because when we talk about prepositions, we should be careful whether the use is what we might call bound or free. Bound, what does it mean? Well, that the choice of the preposition is determined by the verb, noun, or adjective preceding it. If you say, Paul was interested in chemistry, I mean, there's no way out. Interested, let's say, requires in. You have no option. And you cannot say it was interested of or interested about, okay? You need in. The idea of, that depends on, linked in this case to the verb. And this has to do with what we discussed when we read the chapter of the lexicon from the grammar book. This idea that when we know a word, let's say, for example, interested, we should also know, okay, the required preposition, okay? That's part of our lexical knowledge. But then there is also the possibility of choosing. Yeah, when you say that she walked down the road, you may also say that she walked into the room or that she walked through the forest, okay? Like, that is a free choice. It's not that walk, in this case, requires a particular preposition. So, well, the prepositional phrase then, as you can see here, is quite a complex structure that may perform many functions within the sentence. So my idea now, well, when we finish, I'll tell you. So let's move to the discontinuous prepositional phrase. You know what discontinuous means? That it is like there is a stranded preposition, there is a change in the order, okay, of the elements within the structure, within the structure of the prepositional phrase. We always insist that if there is a preposition, there must be an object to the preposition. But sometimes there are some discontinuous prepositional phrases where the object precedes the preposition. Well, that is always the case with WH questions, all right? When you say, what are you talking about? Okay, if I say, what are you talking about? The object to about is what, okay? But because this is a question, it comes at the beginning of the clause. You know, because we have discussed that in the case of relative clauses, when you say, I don't know, those are not the topics we have been talking about. We have been talking about, or that we have been talking about, there that, the relative pronoun, would be the object to the preposition at the end of the relative, okay? Remember, there is the possibility also, in the case of relative clauses, of placing the preposition, let's say, before its object, and say, those are not the topics about which we have been talking, all right? Well, in the case of WH clauses, there is always this, let's say, movement of the prepositional object, exclamations, oh, what a place to live in. In cases of passive voice, and also in some examples with infinitival clauses. We have to be careful because we always expect to find the object to the preposition after the preposition, okay? Well, but in special cases, there is this discontinuous structure, okay? So the idea now is to see, okay, if we can find some prepositional phrases in use. I will open a forum with instructions, and I hope we can keep on working through the forum. Okay, basically this is the bibliography in case you want to read more about this. Downing and Locke, chapter 12, and Quirk and Greenbaum, chapter 6. Well, I'll open a forum and we'll keep on working there. I hope this has been useful. Thanks.